Welcome back to Stories from the River. I'm Heather Greenwood, filling in for Charlie Malouf for a very special series with some very special people. We are here for the Retailer of the Year series, and we have a treat for you. So to kick us off, I'm gonna flip the script, and I'm gonna talk to two people who aren't used to being on this side of the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Charlie Malouf, our president and CEO, and Manny Rodrigues, our COO, to talk about their recent accomplishment and honor. So let's go.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Charlie, Manny, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's good to be a guest, and great job hosting. High reviews on the host upgrade.
Well, I've never actually interviewed you both, so this is a different type of interview.
What an honor to be interviewed by the famous Heather Greenwood. Heather, it's good to be here with you. And
Thank you. Thank you for having me and letting me host you today for a really, really cool series to talk about this recent honor. So first and foremost, congratulations, Retailer of the Year. Tell me a little bit about this success. What does it mean to you guys?
Well, first of all, Heather, I'm uncomfortable by saying to calling it Manny and our success. We get a lot of accolades, a lot of thanks for it, but this is a complete team award. I mean, this is just an acknowledgement of our team, of the job that they've done. I think over a course of several years, but we got acknowledged this year. I think there have been 9 total winners of the IFRA, International Home Furnishings Representatives Association Award for Retailer of the Year. Manny and I have attended the Furniture Industry Awards Gala in the past and have seen some really great retailers who we look up to. And we got the call early May this past year, actually leading the Purpose Summit, that we're going to receive this honor. And it's just, I'm so proud of our team. I'm happy for our memory makers and our leadership team and what they put forth. And I'm just ecstatic for our team. Manny?
Yeah, that's well said. I think ultimately, Heather, there's an immense sense of gratitude for the 800 plus memory makers that make this place really unique and special to work and to be at. And so I think, I'm thankful for IFRA. I'm thankful for our industry. I'm thankful for the rep network that means so much to this industry. But I think it's an acknowledgement that something is, there's something different there at Broad River. And I think our industry was very kind to have honored us in this way. And we were thankful to accept that honor, but also to continue marching forward within this industry because it's important, and our memory makers make it important.
I love it. Well, you all lead us every day, and you do a great job of that. So we very much are grateful for you both and what you do for Broad River. So Retailer of the Year is really no small feat, and I think you've kind of both said it a little bit in what you've already said, but what do you think makes Broad River different than the competition? What sets us apart?
First of all, we have an amazing leadership team. And, at the beginning of this year, we really challenged our leaders to say, hey, think like entrepreneurs and be entrepreneurs within your own department, to be intrapreneurs. And so we really wanted to kind of, it's a testament to us, taking our hands off the wheel a little bit more and letting our leaders steer us and drive us in the direction, and just entrusting their leadership to hey, that's how we grow and develop. And we'll be here for support, for helping make the key decisions on collaboration. But I think what sets us apart is we've grown from the inside out, and then when we've had gaps, we've recruited from the outside in to come into the business. And I think that we've really taken, I would say, what's a traditional industry, which has, long history of benchmarks and KPIs to measure the business, which are really good in a lot of ways, and we've used and learned from. And then we've taken kind of our formula of parallel industries or other industries and said, hey, so-and-so does that. We've learned about this over here. What if we could take those into retail and really infuse it into our business and see if that makes a difference? And so I think that we've looked at others in our industry, but we've also gone outside of our industry and pulled like this amalgamation of ideas and call it like the Broad River Way. And it really gets to the heart of like how we recognize, celebrate, treat our people, being about purpose-driven and really leading from a purpose-driven mindset first and let the profit come after that. And I think when we kind of reoriented our company in that way, we saw this kind of hockey stick growth curve of success and a lot of countercultural kind of ideation in that, or a lot of like entrusting like the KPIs will take care of themselves. And we're going to live within our harvest and be budget minded, but we're going to start with the heart of how we kind of treat, celebrate our people and try to invest in and grow our people. And the more we've done that, the more the KPIs have been the lag indicator to the lead indicator been our people.
Absolutely. No, Fed.
Yeah, people, of course, is the highlight. I'll add some other things there, mostly around, Charlie mentioned purpose and being intentional. We believe that language is cultural. We've said that. And so we get to do this not just with our memory makers, but we get to do it with an ecosystem of partners. So we don't call them vendors, we call them partners. And so we have amazing partners that showed up for us that night, that were there to celebrate with us, but that allow us, that show up for us every day at Broad River. And that I think we enjoy doing business with them because it is a partnership. It's a true partnership where they are either, whether it's a new store and they're our reps, our marketing specialists are there building product, helping us alongside with us, or if it's a new product rollout and they're there teaching and training on the key benefits and features. So we get to do this in an ecosystem where we have amazing partners that show up every day.
And let me just kind of build on that, because you could take a partner and call them a vendor and make it a zero-sum game. And if you were the vendor, and like, it'd be very adversarial. And in order for me to win, you have to lose. Like you've got my margin. I've got to squeeze the vendor for more. And we just changed the game a little bit and said, no. When we win, you win. We're on the same team together, and taking this spirit of abundance lens, or this mutual prosperity lens, or this we're all on the same team, they get to celebrate our success. Even though they might be in a B2B business, they get to celebrate with a B2C company and really feel like they're part of our success. And we feel that. And we don't make it adversarial. We really make it more of a friendship and a partnership, and want to see them succeed, because it's not a zero-sum game. And there's enough spoils for all of us to win. And speaking of an ecosystem, we want a healthy ecosystem where when we do well, our partners are also doing well. Our neighbors are doing well. Our guests are doing well. We don't want to squeeze the most margin out of our guests. We want them to like pay a fair price, a fair margin, but be a customer for life. And so that's how, and that's part of how you treat them at the onset for that first interaction. So I think it's all about that healthy ecosystem and that spirit of abundance and that mutual prosperity lens.
Awesome. So Manny, we know retail can be a tough industry. So with constant changes in consumer behavior and technology, how have you adapted to these changes, especially in recent years?
That's a great question. Well, the one constant is change in our industry, and all industries really, but in retail being present daily, you have to really embrace change. And we have a leadership team. We have a core value that is innovation, and so we're constantly asking ourselves an abundance of questions of ultimately, like, is there a better way, or how are we choosing to show up every day to ensure that we're giving our customers an amazing customer experience? How do we show up every day to ensure that our memory makers are supported and that they have the tools and resources to do best job that they can? And so we have a mindset of continuous improvement, and with that comes a responsibility to be active. Ashley Furniture Industries, one of their key sayings is they like to be known as a dirty fingernail company, and we love that. Like, yeah, I mean that is retail. Retail is kind of rolling up your sleeves every day and really getting into it. So And I'll add on to what Charlie just mentioned about a healthy ecosystem. I think the heart of us wanting to do this and how we do this with our memory makers, with our partners every day, is because it also shows up in our communities. We were able to be present in our communities with how we show up. That really brings the whole ecosystem to life. And so, innovation is part of it, Heather, to answer your question. It's a big part of it, but it's having leaders, it's having memory makers who are all choosing to be additive to the solution. If you're in one of my Retail 101 classes, you'll hear me say, it's easy to hire folks to come in and point out the broken windows. We have them. We're not perfect. We are not perfect. But the value is really finding folks that are curious. They're curious around, I see that this isn't functioning as I should. What if we tried this? Oh, well, tell me more. Tell me more about that. That is being additive.
I always think about when people ask me, what do I love about my job at Broad River? And I always say, I'm empowered to have ideas. And that sounds so silly, but then I think, good ideas, bad ideas, it's any idea, but they're always welcomed. So it can be that little thing, it can be that, but I'm always heard and people listen. And so it, as a leader, as a memory maker, it allows me to say, have the idea, say something, raise your hand, because we all make it better and we're all additive to the bigger picture to be the retailer of the year.
Well, the thing is, you've never had a bad idea.
They take a lot of work to get there. So, Manny, what are some key business decisions or initiatives that you believe have been pivotal to the success of Broad River?
Our frequent listeners, they may have heard the story back in season 1 or season 2, but I point to a couple of key decisions. First of all, there's a lot. I think it's a lot of discipline around how we make decisions. And I credit Charlie with that. I believe that we make decisions better together, so that we kind of can bat them around and have a good, healthy dialogue. But I'll point to, when Charlie took over the CEO and president role, one of the first decisions that he made was really thinking about our people and how our people were going to be led, how we were going to ultimately think about career paths, think about how, this can be different, different than maybe what's out there in the industry, where folks can come here and really have a long, successful professional career, and that it could be mutually beneficial, right? It's a 1 + 1 = 3 equation. It's that mutual prosperity equation. So I point to one of the key decisions was just having a different mindset around people. And so I think that would be one. And then 2 would be ultimately, having that entrepreneurial spirit of knowing that, hey, it's in retail, it does take what it takes to get it done. But we can achieve that together. And there's no heavier burden on any one team or department when we all come together in a really impactful way to do kind of our fair share and do our day's work. Well, then that harvest comes. And so if we all kind of understand what needs to happen today, and to do that and have teams that we are so disciplined and focused around getting that done really intentionally, that would be another key decision of, staying rooted in discipline, staying rooted in understanding that it takes a gritty entrepreneur to get it done.
Thank you. So, Charlie, think back throughout your retail career.
A lot of years, a lot of rings around the tree.
So if you look back over it, what would you say has been your biggest challenge and how have you overcome it?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's been a lot of challenges. It's never a straight linear path. There's always, peaks and valleys. Typically I answer this question, I point to 2015 and that whole, 2015 to 2016, when we broke all of our bones. In the first year, we completed the acquisition of the Arden and Nashville stores. And then we did an ERP conversion, and we were breaking ground in this facility that we currently sit in Fort Mill. And we were running out of cash quickly. And we started these weekly Change the News meetings starting on April 1st, 2015 for a period of 13 weeks. And then then I was moved into the president CEO role. So that was a really tough season. But it was a period of creative distraction. We changed everything. I mean, COVID was difficult and challenging in its own rights. It could have been more challenging had our industry not been on I'd say the winning side of the pandemic. But like we weren't immune from supply chain challenges or people challenges or all the issues of the remote workforce and everything that doing retail frontline with face masks and being safe while doing it, and and trying to take care of our people and bring all of our memory makers home. So that was another challenging year. So, but I think because we'd gone through 2015 and it had been not that long of a distant past, we were confident that we could get through the pandemic. So I'd probably point to those two. I don't want to go through them again.
No.
But there will be future challenges. I know we're promised trials and tribulations, but it's we just try to build in margins of safety in the business and certain protection layers to be as responsible stewards as we can to ensure longevity in the business. And so I think there's staying power to hanging around the hoop. You tend to attract more and better people, and then kind of you separate from those who are additive to the culture. And over time, I think you kind of strengthen, but you also have to continue to have a vision for growth. And when you start to do bigger revenues, it's harder to kind of continue to do that. So maybe the next challenge will be, how we continue to achieve growth when we're at these levels and stay hungry.
Is there anything you would have done differently as you look back?
I'm sure there's several things that I would have done differently, but all of those decisions got us to where we are today. And, when I interview people, I tend to ask them, about how they could point to a lot of failures that we've had, or maybe stores that we may not have opened, or missed decisions on some of those. But we try to use a failure. If it's not going to kill us, we learn from it. And so failure is okay. Let's just fail fast. And then let's also make sure we get the learning and that we don't think about it as winning or losing, but winning and learning. And let's, I like to say, let's don't pay tuition twice. I'll take the learning once. I'll pay tuition once. I just don't want to pay tuition a second time. And sometimes some of those decisions are, when you have a check in your spirit and you know that like someone's not going to work out, and you hang on to them or try to work with them for too long. I mean, sometimes you just gotta do each other a favor and part ways, and and so those would be some failures. Try to you try to think. I like the Bezos framework of you're looking at decisions as make the decisions that are reversible fast. The ones that are irreversible, maybe take your time and have a whole lot more inputs. And so those irreversible decisions, I'd like to make sure that we minimize and mitigate against those and get the counsel of others to help us make sure that we make a best, most informed decision as we can, the most collaborative decision that we can. Because I think now that in the role that I'm in, the role that Manny's in, we're really more judged based off of a couple key decisions we have to make each day. So we've got to do a lot. We got to think about a whole lot of things every single day to distill it down to what is the one or two decisions I've got to make today that's going to drive the business in the right direction or not.
So what's next for Broad River, Charlie? Any exciting projects or things that we're working on that you want to share?
Yeah, well, so what's next for Broad River? That's a really good question, whoever came up with these questions. We've cast a new vision for the company, and I guess I'll state it here. We've used it internally, but it's to, historically, if you would have looked, by 2022, we could have looked back at the previous 15 years or so and said, 13 or 14 years, and said, we've grown 15 or 16% compounded annually, from 2009 to 22. That was a good rhyme. By the way, maybe we wouldn't have open savvy spaces back in 2010, 2011, 2012, to your other questionable mistakes. However, we did it and we learned from it, learned that we don't want to do that. So, I don't know if we would have done it, So, but now we want to go forward and said we want to try to double the company's size by the year 2030. And that's going to require, a double-digit growth rate, 12% compounded annual growth rate over the next 6 years. So how are we going to do that? So I think we're going to have to think a little bit more creatively about looking at about how we look at growth. We really looked at growth for many years from a strong base and growing outwardly from a strong base. And I think we're going to have to be willing to look at non-adjacent territories and markets to continue to grow. Because I think we have a leadership team and a platform and a system that is poised and ready to grow and capable of growing. So we'll have to go find new challenges like that and do it in a smart, effective way that doesn't risk the company. We have to do it with an acceptable level of risk that we understand, to protect the balance sheet, our fortress balance sheet that we like to call it, and a margin of safety. But we also have to challenge ourselves. And so I think that what's next would be looking at like non-adjacent growth opportunities for Broad River and how we continue to kind of go after that 2030 vision. That'd be one of the things I'd point to.
It's very exciting. 2030 will be here before we know it. So, Manny, what advice would you give to other aspiring retailers who look to achieve this level of success?
First of all, we have a lot of amazing retailers in our industry, and that we're inspired by every day, and that we look up to, and that are very generous with their time to allow us to come in and learn. And so we try to pay that forward. And I think that says a lot about our industry, that we have an industry in which folks come together and they connect, and I think everyone's just trying to play kind of best ball golf and trying to learn from each other and trying to kind of talk through solutions that ultimately, impact the way we show up every day. And so I think what I would point to, Heather, is clarity around kind of what the purpose is, what their goals are. Because anytime that we see or maybe where there's not the clearest of message, or where opportunities happen, Charlie mentioned not liking to pay tuition twice, and as we kind of go back and understand some of those maybe footfalls, it might be it usually comes down to communication. Like are things being communicated effectively, and so that would probably be some of the advice I'd give is to really focus and spend time on understanding what that clarity and effective communication is. I think if you have that and you assembled a really good team, you start to really see momentum. You start to see that flywheel start to turn faster and faster. So
something you've always said to me is communication is leadership. And so that's always been a guiding light that you've had for us. So this one's for both of you. Is there a particular mantra, motto, or piece of advice that has guided you throughout your career? Charlie, we'll start with you.
There's several of them. I'm thinking of the one that's like really resonating with me today. So not necessarily to your career, but one thing I think about Broad River in our memory makers, and I spoke about this at the Rock Hill grand opening, is our memory makers. If you look at our crucible moments of our history, our company's history, we have every single time risen to the occasion and we have met the moment. And so I think that we rise to the occasion when called, when needed, when necessary, and we meet the moment. And I think we'll continue to do that. The one that has there's a couple of scripture verses that probably I've carried with me for a long time. Jeremiah 29:11, Romans 8:28, Matthew 25:23. To hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And so I think that those would be some that I just kind of let percolate in my soul a little bit and calm my spirit maybe when going through a storm, or to help keep me motivated about the why and where we're going. Those would be scriptural truths that I've just really leaned on and rested on throughout my career.
Yeah.
Those are great examples. I think to add maybe just two more. One would be, I think it's important that we, stay focused on, what it is that we can do each day, being present. And so we talk about kind of, sometimes you're planting seeds, and I love this. You're planting seeds for for trees that will produce shade that you'll never, that you'll never kind of get to benefit from. But that's okay. That's okay. That's not why we do it. You attack the day's work because it's important and it's what needs to be done. And we're not focused on that harvest. We're focused on today. And I think that points to, Charlie, we've actually been referencing this message that we've heard recently. And so, Pastor mentioned this the past weekend, that it's not about a sprint. It's not even about it's not even a marathon. It's really a relay race, a generational relay race of being courageous enough and bold enough to take that baton from one generation. Being Charlie and I are both first generation here in the U.S. And just wanting to move it forward and having a responsibility and ownership to hand that off better than maybe we found it. All right. And so that, I feel a deep sense of responsibility of leaving it better than I found it. And how do we do that? It's being present. It's being present. And there's a lot of competing things going on. We can't fix those meetings that happened earlier today. Tomorrow is not promised. And so what can we focus on? This right here. So that's something that keeps me rooted, that keeps us rooted in how we go about each day.
Thank you.
The fact that we're sowing seeds for tomorrow, I mean, inherent in that is this understanding that we're also sitting under the shade of trees that we didn't plant. And so what you've heard, another phrase that you've heard in this series or will hear, is standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think about that all the time. And so when we look at our co-founders, Jonathan, Ishee, and Jackson Moore, who started this business and put us in a position, and Jonathan, whose leadership really put us in a position to really thrive and prosper. Couldn't have done all the things that we were able to do if that wasn't there. You go back before him, you look at his uncles, Tommy and Chip and Oscar, and how influential the Miskellys were in us getting to this point. You go before them and you look at his grandfather, Howard, and what the impact that he had. You go in our own lives and our own parents, uncles, grandparents, and and then you go to we were talking about partners earlier. You go to the Wanick family and the generational Wanick family. Everyone who's kind of paved the way for us. And every parent wants a better future for their kids than they had. And that's what parenting's about. And so, this whole thing about because what's done for us, we're all only here because of all the sacrifice. Even just you could play this out. So you go talk about our country and the freedoms that we have, and we get to relish in and experience. Just even the freedom, the right to vote, right? But just the freedoms that we have in what I think is the greatest country that's ever existed in the history of the world at the greatest time that's ever been in the history of the world, which is today in this present moment. And it's got a lot of warts on it that we know of, and it's got some negative things in its history as well. All that to be said, it's still the best it's ever been, and people after us will make it better. But let's just rest on that. We didn't get here by happen chance. It's not just us. We were the benefactors of all those sacrifices that paved the way for us, who were thinking about us, praying for us before we were ever even born, And so think about that. Think about all the generations that came before us. And so, I think about this thing of, what is my responsibility in this moment? And I think about people who have invested in me. And this isn't something I've heard this, right? I've heard this from other speakers. I think maybe Inky Johnson talked about it. And so what do I owe the people who have invested in me? I owe them a positive return on investment. That really motivates me every single day.
Thank you. So throughout this, I'm going to go off script. Throughout this, we've talked a lot about the history of our company, and we're a company that talks a lot about moments and furnishing life's best memories. So for you all, what has been your favorite Broad River moment?
There's a lot. That's a really difficult question. And so, I point to this, anytime that we can come together. So I'll make it real simple. Anytime that we can come together and that we're celebrating or that we're just together. I think that really highlights the true spirit of Broad River, being connected, being together, whether it's for a team award like this one, or whether it's to celebrate some of our amazing memory makers who reach new performance records and milestones. This specific night was very memorable because we both had our families that were able to participate. Our boys and our families to kind of know what we do, but for them to kind of be present in the community in which we do it was pretty special. So that would be a memorable moment.
Those are some great wins. So in addition to those, June 5th, 2018, the closing moment when we acquired a majority interest in the business, that was a powerful moment of a lot of sweat, tears, prayer that led to that moment. I think about the pep rally we had out here and going into Moneyball May of 2016 and so the different pep rallies and events, semi-annual awards. Sometimes on my iPhone, I get the photo galleries of like different events. I just got one from 2019 of a bunch of Manny's pictures. I got to show it to you. It's great. We both looked a little bit differently 5 years ago. I'm sure we did. But those were some great moments. I think about the Purpose Summit last year with 105 memory makers. I think about our Purpose 828 day here that was super powerful. And the Leadership Summit I think we had before that when we had Inky Johnson and Joey Ryman and we unveiled our purpose statement. That was a really powerful day and moment. I think about in this room that we're in, we had all the tables in like a big rectangle when we had the big Thanksgiving dinner and everyone went around and said what they're grateful for. It's like 50 people in the room and you could just feel the love and the connection. I mentioned the semi-annual awards, but when we had the jousting ring, the dunk tank, the first dunk tank, and my boys got to come out there and I was last in that dunk tank, which I changed. The next dunk tank, I was first in the ladder. I learned because that's not chlorinated water or sanitized water. I said, you gotta go first in the dunk tank. Those were some fun moments and memories here in the last 10 years or so, or 8 or 9 years or so that were really special, really powerful.
Rush.
Golly, those were some great moments.
That was a trip.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know. The third one was we did 24 town halls, like 2 or 3 in a day. Those would be 16-hour days, and I remember just waking up early and we were trying to give a rah-rah speech. There's like the 24th one here at like 5:30 in the morning to the ops team. I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling it. I don't know if they're feeling it, but we're going to do it. So, purposeful spaces. Those were some great moments. I was telling someone who was in a company and they're kind of going through maybe they're like 5 years back where Broad River was. And I just said, you're going to realize, I know you're super stressed out right now. I know you're like in the muck of it and you can't you feel like you're way too busy. You don't have enough hours in the day. I get it. What you're not going to realize is just take some moments just to kind of take it all in, because you're going to look back and say, man, these were some really, really special times. And I going back through those times, I often would think to myself, I wish we could afford a historian who just kind of followed us around and marked some of these peak moments, and so there was just you're going through it and you're like, man, this is really special. This idea that we had was coming to fruition. Some of the grand openings, the groundbreaking for The Rock was a really hot day that day. But that was a cool moment. The day we kind of announced in August 2017, the vision where we kind of cast the vision for one day we're going to have a second distribution center, and one day we're going to have $100 or $90 million memory.
Chairman's Award.
Yeah, Chairman's Award. Those are great moments. Yeah.
Thank you both for sharing a lot of great memories and moments over the past few years. So as we come towards the end of this episode, what does being the Retailer of the Year mean to you both, personally and professionally?
We've talked about it, but I think it's just a testament to our people and to an acknowledgement of a job well done, and just to keep going. This can't be a stopping point. It's okay, you can't be set. Yesterday's success can't be an impediment to tomorrow's future success. We can't rest on our laurels. And so we got to go win the day each and every day. Got to make each day its own masterpiece. And so that should give us motivation to say, okay, what next? What can we do? How can we illuminate the path for others? How can we find new challenges and new opportunities to be that positive ripple effect of furnishing life's best memories for all the stakeholders who come into our sphere of influence, be it our fellow memory makers who we get the privilege of working with, or their families who we get the privilege of sometimes serving, or our guests who walk through our doors, or who we get to go walk through their doors to deliver furniture on the final mile, or to our neighbors in our community, or to our partners who we've talked about. So, I want to give a shout out to Steve and Ray Allegrezza, who lead IFRA, who bestowed this award upon us. And it was just, they do a great job, and they serve the industry so well within IFRA and what they do. And so they've been great friends. And so it just means that it's just friendship. It's a fun industry. And I hope that it also inspires some of those who look to us and say, okay, we got to go fight harder. And like, that'd be great. Let's go. Competition gets a bad rap, as you've heard me say once or twice before. And it comes from the word competare. And it means we're really just striving together. And so one, see others pass us and go win the award, because then that'll inspire us and motivate us and we'll draw inspiration from them and their success.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. And those are great sentiments from Charlie. I would echo a lot of those sentiments. First, saying thank you to Ray and Steve and IFRA and the community that really took the time to recognize the memory makers here at Broad River Retail for this award. We get to do this together, and it's a privilege that we get to do this together. And ultimately, we used a lot of racing or running. And so this to me is like we're running the race, which we love, and it's one of those mile markers where you're stopping to kind of get that that glass of water to keep you going, right? And so we're super humbled by the recognition. We know that our memory makers make it possible, but to Charlie's point, ultimately it's continued encouragement. Sometimes you just need that encouragement to keep going. And so that's the encouragement that I would give others is, and as you look back, and now we get to look back over the past 10 years, it does go by really, really quickly. And so you do have to take some time to take a deep breath here and there, and to really kind of let it soak in, and to be appreciative of those that have poured into you and poured into us. And so this award is really just a reflection and a testament to all of those investments, deposits that have been made. And it gives us continued encouragement to continue going and to continue to pay it forward to others as they have paid it forward to us.
Thank you both so much for joining me today on Stories from the River. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in for our series all about being the Retailer of the Year. More episodes coming soon with Manny and Charlie, talking about the actual night and the gala celebrating this honor. Thank you for listening. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.